Welcome back to Women Who Fight, where we cover everything from the world of women's professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. I'm your host, Robyn Ray, along with my good friend and MMA junkie, Kit Lasko.
Hey.
So, Kit, I know you've been dying to talk about the Ronda Rousey situation, so have at it.
Well, look, everyone has already broken down Ronda's title loss to death, so I don't think there's any need to cover that, okay? But what I do want to talk about is who's next. Assuming Ronda is going to be out a while, who's the next big thing to come along in MMA and take over the division like Ronda did?
Oh, well, I was prepared to discuss upcoming opponents for Charlotte's Divas Championship, so don't ask me.
Okay, fine. Well, I'll just hit you with one name to remember. Brooklyn Von Braun.
Okay.
She was a state champion wrestler in high school who has recently made the transition to MMA, and she looked absolutely dominant in her first couple fights.
Brooklyn Von Braun.
Von Braun.
Von Braun. All right, got it. All right, so can we talk about Charlotte now?
Dude, we only spent like 10 seconds talking MMA. WWE always gets the majority of the show. What's up?
Well, it is my studio.
It's your parents' basement.
Yeah, that's been converted into a professional podcast studio.
Your mom brings us oatmeal cookies and lemonade.
Okay, do you not want her to do that?
No, I'm just saying we should be balanced with our coverage.
As always, Women Who Fight also applies to your two hosts. All right, let's just take a break and sort this out.
Yeah, whatever. Fine. I think I just heard the timer go off on the cookies anyway. They smell really good.
Yeah, see? Welcome to another edition of Women Who Fight, where we cover everything from the world of women's professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. As always, I'm your host, Robyn Ray, along with my good friend and MMA junkie, Kit Lasko.
Do you have to say junkie? It sounds like I need to attend a meeting.
Oh, come on, it's just a figure of speech.
Okay, so figure out something else to say.
Okay, fine. Well, I was going to discuss the huge announcement of the new SmackDown Live Women's Championship by GM Daniel Bryan, but since it seems like you're all fired up today, let's start with some MMA talk. What do you got?
How about MMA aficionado? Or pundit? That sounds fancy. Whatever. What I'd like to pundit on is MMA phenom, the American hero, Brooklyn Von Braun, who just dominated her most recent fight to advance her record to 5-0.
Ooh, American hero, huh? Well, I guess she thinks pretty highly of herself.
Well, she's certainly confident, yeah. But the thing is, she can back it up.
Okay.
You remember, I mentioned her last year when she first debuted, and I'm calling it again now. She is going to be a megastar in MMA.
Well, speaking of megastars, let's talk about my prediction on who will win the six-pack challenge to be crowned the first ever SmackDown Live Women's Champion. I'm going with Becky Lynch. I feel like she's ready to become the cornerstone of SmackDown Live and maybe even WWE.
Look, I appreciate your enthusiasm and also all the progress that the women have made, but cornerstone of WWE? I hope I'm wrong, but I just don't see that happening.
Well, I have a good feeling about this, even though I'm not a pundit.
No, you're not.
Welcome to another edition of Women Who Fight, where we cover everything from the world of women's professional wrestling and mixed martial arts. As always, I'm your host, Robyn Ray, along with my good friend and MMA pundit, Kit Lasko.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Robyn.
You're so welcome. Okay, the main topic I'd like to discuss today is the upcoming third annual Mae Young Classic tournament. We're only a couple of months away, so the participants should be announced soon, right?
Well, honestly, it doesn't really matter who's in it, because mark my word, Rhea Ripley is going to win the whole thing this year.
Okay, didn't you say that last year?
I don't recall.
Well, nonetheless, in 2018, Rhea lost in the semifinals to Io Shirai, who then went on to be defeated by Toni Storm in the finals. So if anything, shouldn't Shirai be the favorite?
Well, I guess if you're painting by numbers, I mean...
What? painting by numbers.
Yeah.
It's all speculation at this point. We don't even know who's in the field yet. There could be some dark horse who comes out of nowhere to win the whole thing. But as of right now, I can only go off what we do know.
And if you actually think about who's driven to win this thing and who has all the tools to do it, it's Rhea Ripley.
Okay, then please provide some evidence to support that statement.
Pedants don't need evidence.
Ugh, I can tell this is going to be another one of those shows.
Yeah.
Welcome back to a special live edition of Women Who Fight, recapping everything we just saw at Evolution, where Red completed her improbable run by defeating Rhea Ripley to win the Mae Young Classic.
Yeah.
Kit, I seem to remember you being pretty confident that Rhea Ripley was going to win the whole thing.
I also seem to remember you thinking Io Shirai was going to win it. At least my predicted winner made it to the finals.
Okay, so we were both wrong. Okay, but let's talk about what this means for Red going forward.
Okay.
The Mae Young trophy's nice, but you have to assume the even bigger prize she earned tonight was a WWE contract.
Well, yeah, more specifically an NXT contract. I wouldn't be surprised if we see an announcement regarding that very soon.
Based on the success of previous winners, Kairi Sane and Toni Storm, I don't think it's crazy to think that Red could capture championship gold in the very near future.
Whoa, take it easy there. She doesn't even have a deal yet as far as we know. And besides, didn't you learn your lesson on wrongly predicting the winner of the Mae Young Classic?
I'm just saying Kairi Sane won the NXT Women's Championship less than a year after winning the first Mae Young Classic. And then Toni Storm won the NXT UK Women's Championship only a few months after she won last year's Mae Young. There is data to back this up.
Okay, but just because it happened for those women doesn't mean it will happen for Red.
Well,
I think you're getting way ahead of yourself.
Okay, we'll revisit this at a later date and see if I was right. Until then, let's get back to discussing an amazing show. Welcome back to another edition of Women Who Fight with MMA authority,
Hey.
Kit Lasko, and yours truly, the pro wrestling prognosticator, Robyn Ray.
Are you really calling yourself that now?
Because that's what I do. I prognosticate.
You correctly predicted that Red would hold a title within a year of winning the Mae Young Classic, and now for the last month, you haven't stopped bragging about it. It's really not a good look.
Whatever.
Oh, but I guess you need to get your bragging in while you can before Red loses her championship back to Candice LeRae in their singles match.
And what makes you so sure that's going to happen?
Because Red's had that brutal eye injury and there's no way she's been able to train consistently. Maybe she could overcome that in a normal match, but not in an Iron Woman match where stamina means everything.
Oh, since when are you an expert on stamina? You get winded going up my podcast studio stairs.
You mean your parents' basement stairs? Which happen to be very steep. And I'm an expert because I cover MMA, okay? So I know a lot more than you do about how a fighter's cardio and training can affect the outcome of the fight.
Fine, fair enough. And speaking of MMA, I have to mention the article you just wrote about how MMA star Brooklyn Von Braun and Red actually went to high school together. That is such a crazy story.
Dude, I know. Yeah, Brooklyn only had limited time to talk to me because of her busy schedule, but she had some very interesting things to say about Red and her friend Trey. I'll leave it at that.
Well, I won't, because at one point, Brooklyn claimed Red used to change in private after gym class because she had 3 butt cheeks. You gotta read the article, people.
Gotta read it.
It's crazy.
We have a few minutes to fill, so can we finally talk about Brooklyn Von Braun's latest movie release?
Sure, I guess. I'll let you go first. What'd you think?
You didn't watch it, did you?
No, I totally did. Brooklyn, she was great. She really knew her lines, and her hair was really nice, and she handled the props really well.
Seriously?
Okay, fine. I blew it off, but I just figured you'd fill me in.
Well, this segment's off to a great start. Where was I? Brooklyn plays an MMA fighter.
Big stretch. Ooh.
Are you going to snark? Or are you going to let the person who actually watched the movie do the segment?
Sorry. Continue.
Well, when her MMA career is derailed due to injury, a chance encounter leads her to the world of competitive tap dancing. Hence the title, Tapping Out.
Sounds like I made the right call not watching it.
It was actually entertaining. And hey, as long as it's not getting in the way of her training, then she should do whatever she wants. Besides, you have to give her credit for trying new things, which is something you could attempt every once in a while.
I just tried this new movie review segment. Not a fan.
I'm going to start my own podcast. Women who respect their co-hosts.
Aw, that's a bit wordy. Anyway, speaking of new things, we have a brand new sponsor who can help you become the next WWE superstar.
Are you sick of going through life unrecognized and unappreciated? Well, what if I told you in just a few months I could make you famous around the world? Because that's what I did for WWE superstars Red and Trey. With my help and a sizable but fair tuition, they went from losers to bruisers. So if you want to get on the fast track to WWE success, there's only one place to do it: Riley Flash's Wrestling Academy. Fame and fortune is only one call away. So give me a ring, and I'll see you in the ring. Red and Trey did not authorize this message, and WWE success is highly unlikely.
Welcome to another edition of Women Who Fight, where we have breaking news.
Ooh.
The new team of Red and Mickie James will get a tag team championship opportunity at Super Showdown.
You neglected to mention it will be an Australian rules tag match in front of the Iconics' home crowd. I think all of that adds up to this being Mickie James's final match.
You know, as our resident WWE expert, I have to mention that Ric Flair faced a similar career-ending stipulation years ago, and he went on to win quite a few matches before Shawn Michaels eventually retired him at WrestleMania. I think this situation could motivate Mickie James to go on a similar winning streak.
Ric Flair and Mickie James are two completely different people in two completely different eras. Besides, Flair was competing in singles matches, not as part of a team, which means Mickie's career is not only in her own hands, but also Red's. That's a lot of pressure.
Well, if anyone can handle that kind of pressure, it's Red. She's been a champion everywhere she's gone, and her win-loss record is one of the best we've ever seen. Not to mention, Mickie James is a hero of hers. I mean, the last thing Red wants to do is let her down.
But that win-loss record you mentioned is from singles matches. Red's never been part of a team. Meanwhile, the Iconics have been teaming for years. They grew up together.
Okay. Can we at least agree that it was a good thing that Red and Mickie interrupted the Iconics' rules of cricket?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I was kind of interested to learn more about it. Seems like a cool sport.
Seriously?
You know, maybe we should start talking about cricket on the show. Would probably get about as much time as MMA does.
Here we go again. All right, fine. I'll wrap this up by saying I firmly believe we'll see new tag team champions coming out of Super Showdown, and more importantly, Mickie James will go on to fight another day.
Sorry, can you repeat all that? I was reading about cricket.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to another episode of Women Who Fight, where we have some huge news to discuss.
That's right. After nearly 12 years of doing this show, we finally moved out of your parents' basement.
Yes, we have recently upgraded our studio, but that's not what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, I really hope your mom can still bring us snacks here.
Yeah, we'll have to give her a security badge, but shouldn't be an issue.
That's right, people. We're security badge big now.
Okay, all that aside, what I wanted to discuss is the huge development that MMA star, actress, and international recording artist Brooklyn Von Braun is the new GM of SmackDown Live, she called it.
It really has been an insane week as our worlds of MMA and WWE are intersecting like we could have never imagined.
Yeah, and I don't think Red and Trey ever imagined this could happen either. I mean, we've documented their history with Brooklyn. This can't be good for them, right?
I'd like to give Brooklyn the benefit of the doubt, but her first order of business as GM was putting Red's title on the line in a best-of-5 series against Becky Lynch and her Savages.
Yeah, give her credit for making an impact, I guess, but she put Red in a very tough spot.
Yeah.
But I want to look at the bigger picture. You've been covering Brooklyn since way before anyone in the mainstream knew about her. Do you think this could ever lead to her competing in a WWE ring?
When it comes to WWE and Brooklyn, you never say never. I mean, given some of the things she said in the past, I never thought she'd even attend a WWE event, let alone become GM. But if I had to guess, I think she's just doing this to get under Red and Trey's skin.
Well, we'll have to wait and see how that transpires. But first, we have the Best of 5 series coming up. We'll break down the matchups after this.
Hey, call your mom to see if she can come down here. I'm craving her butterscotch cookies.
Welcome to a special live edition of Women Who Fight, covering all the fallout from SmackDown 1500. There is certainly a lot to cover.
Well, let's start with the fact that there's a new WWE champion thanks to the actions of Brooklyn Von Braun.
We can only speculate at this point, but it looked like Brooklyn and Samoa Joe might have been planning this for quite a while.
Well, I want to hear an explanation from Brooklyn, and knowing her, I'm sure we will. But it doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. This was a setup. And I think it started with Brooklyn teaming with Trey in the Mixed Match Challenge in order to earn his trust.
Yeah. Looking back on it all now, her sudden change of heart was just way too good to be true.
Look, this might be controversial, but you have to applaud Brooklyn in some way.
What? Why?
Because she came into Red and Trey's domain and in just a short time managed to pull all the necessary strings to not only embarrass them, but also position herself as the most powerful woman in WWE. Like it or not, that's impressive.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's how I'd describe it. Deceitful? Maybe vile, perhaps, but impressive? No.
Look, you're obviously biased towards Red and Trey since they're longtime WWE superstars. And when an outsider from MMA comes in and dominates them at their own game, it doesn't sit well. I get it.
That's not what this is about. It's about right and wrong.
No.
And Brooklyn is clearly wrong here.
No, I don't think it's that simple.
Whatever. I mean, lost in the shuffle of all of this is that Red announced she wanted to bring back the Divas Championship, but was informed that it was already spoken for.
Well,
and we'll speculate on what that could possibly mean when we come back.
Well, maybe we can have a bias-free discussion on that. Maybe.
We had a lot of things planned for today's WrestleMania preview show, but all those went out the window at the Hall of Fame ceremony when Brooklyn Von Braun and Samoa Joe assaulted Red and Trey, destroying the moment they'd been working for their entire careers.
There's just a lot to digest here. We're just on the outside covering this, so imagine what Red and Trey have been working through. This is their entire lives. I mean, Red had been keeping that secret from Trey all those years. How do you deal with that?
Look, I'll be the first to admit I've taken Red's side since day one, and she has some things she needs to reconcile with Trey, but that's between them. Yeah. And on the flip side, in no way does it excuse what Brooklyn did. So please, Kit, don't try to defend Brooklyn like you always do. I'm just not in the mood.
That's not what I'm doing. And honestly, I can't this time. Like you said, Red and Trey have their own stuff to work out, but what Brooklyn did crossed the line. That wasn't one-upping Red and Trey or outsmarting them. That was disgraceful. And I'm happy that apparently Red and Trey have been able to work out their issues to the extent that they'll be able to fight back against Brooklyn and Samoa Joe at WrestleMania.
For once, I agree with everything you said, but what will this cost Red and Trey? If they lose the match, they lose their Hall of Fame spots. And what if that was Brooklyn's goal all along and they're just playing right into it? Red and Trey, they have nothing to gain and everything to lose.
Well, I wouldn't say they have nothing to gain. I mean, they have their pride and their honor to uphold. And maybe if they defeat Brooklyn and Joe, they can finally stop Brooklyn from tormenting them ever again. I mean, the logical side of me doesn't know if that will happen, but in my heart, I hope that's what we'll see tonight.
Well, we're on the same page there. Good luck to Red and Trey.
Yeah.
And we'll be pulling for you.
Totally.